Why do you want that to be the headline above your name? You know what I mean? You want your music to be the headline above your name. So-and-so, Roxy so-and-so played a great show. No. And now it's, oh, this girl was assaulted.
Yeah.
That's what you're known for. That's why victims remain silent, because you don't want to be known for something awful that happens to you. You want to be known for something awesome.
Reputation is everything in this business.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome back to the Earfuel podcast. As always, I'm Joel Freemark, and you can follow me on Twitter at @GetEarfuel and at The Daily Guru. You can also find us on SoundCloud.com/GetEarfuel and in the iTunes store under Earfuel. It is good. It is so good to be back after our hiatus, and we are going to kick off this season of the Earfuel podcast with some seriously intense conversation. In fact, the topic I'm diving into this week is so important to me that there won't be a new album review this week, so we can have more time for the conversation. What you heard at the top was part of that conversation, as the other day I sat down with Emily Danger, who fronts the band of the same name, and Stephanie Kibbe, that you all know from Some Kind of Awesome. For a long time, we're talking well over a year here, I've wanted to have an in-depth conversation about gender bias and sexual harassment and just all the issues that surround men versus women in various areas of the music industry. But in the light of recent headlines, I really wanted to get into kind of the sexual assault side of things and kind of how the industry sets women up in a way to fail or at least not be equal to men, and just how the balance of the music industry works when it comes to gender equality. I think it's a very important conversation to have, and it's not being had enough. There is a ton of intense dialogue coming up around the corner, but we also had our fair share of laughs. So this isn't going to be some grab your pitchforks and go burn down Sony headquarters type of thing. The conversation is by no means done with this podcast. We were unfortunately not able to solve all of the problems in the world in just under an hour. But hopefully, as you listen to the various opinions that go back and forth throughout the conversation, it'll get some things moving in your head and give you some ideas that you can bring back to your local community, because that's where it starts, is making your own local music community even better. And then when everybody does that, hey, guess what? The whole thing gets better, right? So here you go. Now you can hear yourself a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
I turned the
yes.
I turned the headphones up.
That's good.
But the impetus behind this was really, I've been frustrated. One of the things I hate the most, and I hate a lot of things. There's a lot of things that Joel hates. Mm-hmm. One of the things I hate the most, and I tweet about this a lot, is I hate when when publicists or people who are into music say like, oh man, check out this female punk rock band. Because I'm just like, so it's a punk rock band.
Yeah.
Like the fact that it's 2016 and we still have to qualify that, oh yeah, it's a really great rock and roll band and they have a female lead singer.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts that in something that's supposed to be as much of an everybody can join thing, that even as artists, there's still these huge gender divides.
Oh yeah, well, sex still sells.
Right.
And it's not necessarily like they're good for a girl. It's like, we promise you they'll probably be hot too. So it's all the more reason you should check this out.
It's also a category. Mm-hmm. It's a complete category. Female fronted musicians, female fronted bands, and they make us compete against other women. It's not so much we're competing against men. Yeah. It's like, because that to me doesn't even a lot of times enter the realm of that. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, who's the hottest female in this industry now?
You know, obviously we've seen that with someone like Britney Spears.
Oh, yeah.
And most of the artists who are, I'll say it, minimal talent, maximum visual appeal.
Right.
But they do it with guys as well, but in a different way.
Yes.
Where do you guys see the differences occurring then? You know, how did they market Britney? The perfect equation is Justin Timberlake, who is certainly sold on his image, but in a different way. We see Justin, I guess I'm answering my own question a bit. In he's like modeling for like Armani,
right?
And he's looking like really good and put together. Where Britney, we have the infamous like the snake on the MTV VMAs, and just how little clothing can we get away with her? With her,
yeah. It's just, to me, it's less clothes. I think that's the answer.
Oh, absolutely. Like
clothes.
Well, I mean, like the femininity that you have to play up in order to be a female musician. Like, you have to wear lots of heavy makeup, or you have to, like, be the girl next door with the squad. If we're going to talk about my favorite person.
We may get to Taylor Swift.
You know, like, dudes can be as obnoxious and, like, you know, if you're going to pick, like, a Dylan Francis who, for fun, just, like, makes coffee on his Snapchat and, like, bullshits about anything and trolls people with Diplo or whatever.
Right.
Versus, like, a Taylor Swift where, like, she has this perfect image and we're worried about what she's wearing. Like, no one ever goes, Dylan Francis just stepped out in a tracksuit from Adidas, like, looking for a lady. But, like, we're always worried about, like, who they're dating, like, all of the, like, we're here for sex and that's it.
But nobody cared when Dave Grohl got married. Nobody even knew that Dave Grohl got married.
I didn't even know Dave Grohl was.
And so he gets this homey, I don't want to say homely. He's got this Dave Grohl has this homely thing about him. But, you know, it's very different where, you know, nobody really, like you said, you didn't know because it doesn't matter. But when Britney Spears got married in Las Vegas,
Oh, it was a thing.
that was the biggest thing for at least one full news cycle.
Yeah.
So, Emily, do you feel any of this pressure as a female performer and with the songs that you perform, which, you know, I am a huge fan of, as you know.
Thank you.
And does it come into your head when you are performing or you're getting ready to perform?
I think image, you know, this is horrible, but I think we talked way more about image than we did the music the first, like, 3 years of the band. And now with all of this coming out, and I think also with me getting older and, like, huge life changes, I just don't care anymore. I just really want to be about music, and that's it. But, like, early on, you know, when we joined a PR company, all the PR company talked about was image and branding and, like, well, who... And, it, you know, this is kind of, it's an interesting thing because also as, like, a branded feminist, there's so many subcategories of that. Are you the Bjork feminist that wears giant costumes and doesn't care and is not sexual but is still sexual in a way because she's beautiful and she has this very animalistic voice, so you're going to sexualize her there? Or are you this, like, Beyonce feminist where you are so out there sexually and so I'm a powerful woman, but I'm married and I have a baby and I can do it all? Like, what kind of feminist are you? So there's, like, all this. So there was that discussion. So we finally decided on me wearing more clothes was the main decision. But I have to say, like, in a way that's kind of... And I don't mean to come across as, like, I wear no clothes, but I'm not exactly a drapey person. Like, I wear, you know, I don't know, I have a slight figure and I like wearing, like, tight jeans basically, but on stage I was branded more opposite. You know, I mean, you've seen me play in, like, big drapey things, and that never felt 100% comfortable just because I like pants. So
Pants are great.
I like
prefer them
pants.
over
I enjoy the pants.
If you take nothing away from this, I would like you to take away that I like pants.
Yes.
Emily
Agreed,
Danger.
100%
I like
emoji.
pants.
Put it on my
That's
grave.
going to be the new record. It's just going to be called In Defense of Pants.
Defensive pants. Put it on my tombstone.
Yep.
But so that, I mean, that was so discouraging and so disheartening that it was like, no, I got into this because I like to sing and I like to write and I like music and I don't care what I look like. I just wanted to sing, you know.
Have you ever performed without makeup on?
No. And I have to say, I'm ashamed to say this, I would be terrified to, I think.
No, I don't blame
I'd be
you.
terrified. I went a summer without wearing makeup on the streets and it was, like, the most liberating thing. But I think if, like, I didn't have eyeliner on stage, I would be like, who am I?
But you know, being on stage in
Lost my
itself, you know,
identity.
it's a performance.
Yeah,
For sure.
You know, and so many musicians hide in or seek refuge in their on-stage persona.
Right.
You know,
David Bowie.
Iggy Pop, who are, you know,
Yeah.
the list goes on and on
Sure.
and on.
Sure.
So aside from the management you were working with,
Yeah.
did you get pressure from club owners, you know, hey, you'll sell more tickets, or just they didn't really?
You know what this is my biggest complaint, and it goes back to what you were first saying. It wasn't so much like wear less clothes. I've been pretty fortunate in that realm. But it was like I would be paired with other female musicians and they would be like, we're putting you on our ladies' night. And it's going to be so great because it's a night of ladies. And the worst of it was, it'd be me and a bunch of, I'm sorry, ukulele players.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'd be like, I don't fit with this.
Yeah.
Don't put me with like Zooey Deschanel. It's not going to work out well for you. And so I'd get on stage and like either half the crowd would leave or half the crowd would just look super confused because they thought they were in for a night of like
ukulele,
bubble tea and ukulele. But
so you were pigeonholed basically there.
Totally.
Do you get the same thing in your writing there? Like, oh, this is the female point of view on this issue. Now, granted, it's a little different because you kind of run your own.
Yeah,
thing.
I run my own deal. I think most of the time it's just kind of like because of my style of writing, because I'm not chasing down a lot of the same things that other people do. It's kind of like, oh, that's cute that you have a blog. Like sometimes, well, I mean, like, but it's crazy though, because like I will get these interviews because the artists that I deal with like understand how intense all of my interviews and stuff are, but like especially some of the initial reactions or like interactions that I have with the artists themselves, it's always kind of like, that's cute that you exist and you like my music, thanks. And I'm kind of like, I don't think you understand what I'd be willing to do for you. And feels kind of weird to say, but like the platform that I have and the exposure that I can give you, like, granted, I know I am a very special edge case in terms of like how I treat all of the bands, like how I interact with you, like how excited I am about everything, because like I don't want to be associated with the like pitchforks of the world.
Who would want to be?
I don't think we. Well, no, I don't think
we've tried this ground before. I think you.
Oh yeah. But I mean, like I.
You have your own point of view.
Yeah.
Which is something that we've spoken about a bit before. Is the difference in perception. You and I spoke about it a couple months ago when we said you and I could write the exact same article, word for word, and mine is going to have a different sense of credibility to it.
Oh yeah.
And that, I think, kind of pulls into another thing that you and I didn't explore that I really wanted to. So, and that's the idea of super fandom. And you kind of alluded to that, like how bands look at you and how bands perceive you. Whereas, so let's say that the three of us, and we'll stick with one of the analogies we've been using, are all the world's biggest Foo Fighters fans. There's instantly a difference in why I'm a fan and why the two of you are fans. I'm a fan because I'm into the rock and roll and I like things that kick ass, even though the last 3 records have been horrible. But I digress. You two want to fuck the band.
Or I'm into the band because my boyfriend or my ex-boyfriend got me into the band.
You could not possibly be into a hard rock band because you like hard rock music.
Yeah. I got into a Twitter argument with someone. It's my only Twitter argument I've ever been in, and it was over the band Rush. And someone was
Red
like,
Barchetta. He had beef with the low end on Red Barchetta.
Yeah, he was like, "We're all the female Rush fans." And I was like, "Here I am. I'm a female Rush fan." And like, we got into this weird discussion about how like no woman likes Rush,
because they're stereotypically a nerd band.
They're a nerd band. They're math rock, and like none of them, bless their hearts, are like physically very appealing
at all.
But I love them.
Not doing it for most.
Yeah, but like I love them, and as like a trained musician, I like have so much respect for them, and they're one of my favorite bands. And this guy was like, "Oh, I just didn't know any women. I didn't know any women liked Rush." I actually think even in an interview, someone made the comment that I liked Rush, and they couldn't believe that I liked Rush because I was female. And I was like, well, I have ears, don't I?
Wow.
And a brain.
Oh, yeah. My taste has always been a shock to people.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, my God, I didn't realize that girls like that kind of stuff. And I'm like, what did you think we liked?
God.
Like.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll say this, growing up in hardcore and all that, I was having a conversation with my friend Ethan. We went to see Dying Fetus.
Oh, God.
Oh, it was so amazingly bad. It's grindcore. They played at the Gramercy. This was like 2 years ago. I ended up getting kicked in the head. It hurt a lot.
Right.
Steel-toed boot, right?
Oh,
and we were looking around and we were like, there are so many women here. Huh. And when we grew up, hardcore was like dudes.
Oh, yeah.
And their girlfriends. And that's what it used to be. But now you're getting kids who grew up with parents who are into metal and who are into hardcore.
No.
And they're going in there and, they're ready to go in the pit.
But, like, that's the thing. They, like, guys don't think that, like, we can endure pain and, like, actively want to
and
stick
be in the
around.
pit.
Yeah.
I know it. Like, when I was formerly in the pit, because, I'm a grown-ass man now. The knees don't quite heal as quick as they used to.
You can't windmill kick that much anymore.
Right, no. And also, people in New York, with minimal offense, people in New York do not know how to have a good pit. It drives me nuts.
Yeah.
But when we see a young lady in the pit, we instantly assume she shouldn't be there.
Help her.
You know, like, oh, she's probably trying to get to the front. I'm as guilty as anyone because, you know, I should have set this up at the beginning of our conversation that it's completely wrong for me to try and talk about this is what's wrong with gender and this is what happens when you're a woman in music, because I'm a white male.
Yeah.
I've kind of got it fucking made in so many ways, but you know, we see them where like something must be wrong or you go easy on them.
I've never been in a pit. One time I yelled at someone because they were standing in a Radiohead concert in front of me. That's the extent of my...
That's about how aggro you've gotten at a show.
That's the extent of my anger at concerts. No. Sit down, sir.
Me. I'd like to get...
Sit down. Paranoid Android is coming on. Please sit down.
And I would like to see Tom York sing it. Thank you.
Get down. That's as hardcore as I get.
Oh, no.
So let me shift topics.
Oh,
can I have this? Okay.
I'll let you read
this it. This is... Okay, so this is kind of the crux of what's going on, because obviously this discussion, I've wanted to do it for like well over a year now, but the issues that have come up over the last few weeks with just outright unprofessionalism and just creepiness has come to the forefront, and Steph brought this.
This is a job posting that somebody saved for an internship position that exists, and I can't wait to watch your face.
my apologies to everyone who now has to listen to me speak for a good 3 minutes. Intern needed. Booking, production services, and artist management company seeks feisty intern to help launch careers. Must be good with children. Really, really big children. Must be able to sidestep sexual advances gracefully. Keep a straight face while dealing with music industry ass clowns. Be comfortable with long rides in tour vehicles with a bunch of obnoxious boys. Be completely unfazed by random nudity, ashtray floors, dirty clothes, and filthy jokes. And be a real fan of debaucherous behavior without actually having to engage in it. Must be okay with the fact that if you walk away from your camera for 5 minutes, there might be offensive images on it when you get back. Duties will include making changes to posters, flyers, MySpace pages, and other forms of marketing to reflect different events. Babysitting aforementioned obnoxious dudes on the road, counting money and distributing some to the appropriate persons, and other various sundry music type, industry type stuff. Web skills a plus. No drugs or excessive alcohol use whilst working, please. Habitual use of any hard drugs is a minus. If you are super hot, you might think twice about signing up for this one. These guys will charm your pants off, given half a chance, and we frown on having sexual relations with clients or vendors. If you can do your job well and are a quick study, you can turn your internship into a paid position by learning how to book talent all over town and around the world.
Welcome to the music industry, everybody. That is it in a nutshell.
That's a joke.
No, that's real. I've seen shit like that before.
I love that you have to put up with a bunch of stuff, but you can't do drugs or drink.
Yeah. Oh no, we have to be the perfect,
totally sober,
rational, like above reproach ones. And boys will be boys, you know, they can't control themselves.
Which is interesting because, you know, while most band managers, because, you know, obviously this was a road manager type position, you know, you want them, someone needs to be sober on the road to get you to the 7 a.m. Bus call. But yeah, just, you know, if you're really hot, this might not be the job for you.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Did you ever read this Straight Outta Compton calls? Did you ever read those? Oh my God, I've never, I wanted to vomit. The Straight Outta Compton extra girl
for
calls.
Oh, God.
There was like an A level, a B level, and a C level, and it was the most derogatory. It was so misogynistic and awful. It was disgusting.
To generalize, think of any hip hop video you've seen.
Oh yeah, I know.
And you know,
big booty, broads,
big booty hoes.
It was awful. Ugh. Yeah, that's similar.
We were having this discussion before you got here. I hate that I'm relieved when a guy doesn't think I'm hot in the industry. I hate that I'm relieved by that. The feeling of like, oh, either like you have a wife or you just don't think I'm pretty enough. Like, I don't have to worry about you bothering me.
Yeah. That was the good thing about being married and being in the music industry was that some people took that as a leave me alone situation. Definitely at shows when I would have my ring on, I think a lot of people really did avoid it. A lot of people didn't, granted, but that was a benefit of that. And also being in a band with a lot of guys was a benefit because that I'm close to that are like some looking intimidating. Yeah. So being in a band with a bunch of guys and definitely touring with a bunch of guys was helpful for me. I think if I were in Gem and the Holograms, it would be a little more annoying.
But you'd be magical.
I would be magical.
But then also forces the narrative, like when people interview you, like, how do you deal with being in a band, like a bus full of guys all the time, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, yeah. I used to get, I would like carry a guitar amp out of my van and people would be like, look at you carrying that guitar amp. I'd be like, I know, and I can play it too. I can turn it on and plug it in.
Guitar, mister.
It's amazing. Yeah, people would do that all the time to me.
Yeah.
I'd be like, wow, you're carrying gear. It's amazing.
Like you're really in a band.
Yeah.
This isn't just like some like you're not. It's not take your friend to work day.
They're like, and you write the songs? Unbelievable.
You play multiple instruments? How do you do that?
Amazing.
Do you feel what sort of biases do you guys experience then as an artist, as a performer, as a writer, simply because of your gender?
The one thing that I do encounter discrimination-wise in the music industry as being a writer is that, well, men will not identify with your music. And I always am confused as to why, because number one, I'm not gender specific in my music on purpose. And number two, I'm not outright like women, feminism. It's just something that people have picked up on and I talk about it a lot. And so to associate that immediately with my lyrics is kind of false. Like, I just write about personal experience and I think anyone can identify with that.
Most of the time, like, if I'm really excited about something, I must have an ulterior motive instead of just being someone who can appreciate art for what it is.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's cute that this girl likes it. She must be like a really big fan. And that's just not good enough for me. There's a lot of you're good for a girl. Your taste is good for a girl. Or like you and I talked about this the last time. I was at CMJ and I was at a showcase and someone was shocked to find out that I was the person who started my website. They were like, oh, I read Some Kind of Awesome. I didn't realize a girl did that. And I'm like, do you not ever look up the people that write about things that you care about? Like,
do you ever kind of get flack? Kind of like if you speak negatively of a female artist because you don't like them artistically, that, hey, you know, we need to band together here, sister friend.
Well, I mean, it's more
Sister friend is
not
my
necessarily
favorite
that,
phrase.
but like a lot of people try to drive the narrative that because I don't like Taylor Swift, it's because she's dating Calvin Harris. I feel like I need to go on record right now that like just because there is a man who is attractive that makes good music that I respect and I sometimes have dreams about making out with doesn't mean I will ever pursue it. I mean, like, everybody has weird sexual dreams about like whoever, whatever. It could be a band, it could be like somebody down the street or whatever, but like,
what guy in the late 90s wasn't dreaming about Britney Spears?
but like that's not my only agenda. Like, I'm never actively gonna like walk up to Calvin Harris and go, I've loved you since I created disco, can we make out now? Like, I'm going to be like, can I go look at your synthesizers now? Can we talk about...
Did you buy any cool records lately?
You know, like that kind of stuff.
I feel like everyone has their pop idol. Like,
yeah.
Everyone has their, like, I'm obsessed with Kanye. I love him.
So does Kanye.
I am obsessed with him.
Kanye is also obsessed with Kanye.
I know, it's fine. And I will talk about it until I'm blue in the face. But everyone has their one person who is like super famous and they're like kind of ashamed to like defend. But mine's Kanye. I love him.
You know, the guy makes exciting, interesting music.
He does.
But here's the question, and this is a serious question.
Yeah.
What fascinates you the most about him?
I think the whole thing is an act. And he is 100% aware of it. And just he's all in. And I think he's brilliant. I really do. And if the music wasn't good, I'd be like, meh. I love the music. I think it's brilliant music.
Yeah,
I love it.
When Yeezus came out, I wrote about it and I said he is going to every single radio station in the world and saying, I fucking dare you to play this record. I dare you.
I think this next record is going to be the same thing. I think it's just like a huge slap in the face, and I love it. I love every second of it.
And the point I'm making here is, though, you tell somebody that you are a huge Kanye West fan. they are probably not going to link it to, oh yeah, you must really be into kind of, understand the psychology behind what he's doing. Because I totally agree with what you said there.
Yeah.
That they're going to think, oh, you just, you like Gold Digger,
No, it's
and
like my
and
least
you,
fave.
right,
Yeah.
and you like the hits because again, there's no way that because of your gender you could possibly be that into music.
Right. I really like hip hop, and like I'm that I integrate like a lot of beats and stuff into the production of my music, and I love
Sick beats.
Sick beats. But I love hip hop and I love Kanye, but I've loved it for a long time. Like my hometown was very into hip hop, and I grew up with it. But I think there's a stigma with women in hip hop,
especially in hip hop, for sure.
I'm having like a huge, huge moral dilemma because I really want to see Straight Outta Compton. I really want to see it, but I really hate Dr. Dre for throwing women through walls. So I'm having like a huge moral dilemma.
But he talked about it in that song with Eminem, and so it's all okay now.
Well, in Rolling Stone, he admitted it, and he made it. He was like, "I don't see what the big deal is. I just threw her against a wall."
Yeah.
So I'm just like, but I really want to see the movie, but I really hate you.
The biggest backstage story of Led Zeppelin's career.
The shark?
That's it. The mud shark incident.
Yeah, I know that.
Led Zeppelin are legends because, as legend goes, they basically took a fish out of the ocean in Seattle and had their way with a groupie with it.
Oh, I thought you were going to bring up the burrito dick thing from Motley Crue.
Sure, there's that too. Oh, yeah. There are these iconic stories that make the bands even cooler because they basically were amazing womanizers.
Mm-hmm. I know, I love Zeppelin so much.
Who doesn't?
Well, it's an ongoing thing where like most music is written about women. You're longing for love. You're whatever. Like clearly, these men love women, but like, do they respect them as much as they love them? Think about the songs that you grew up listening to, like Uptown Girl, or like
Baby Got Back.
Bro, you're killing me.
Was that just me? Sorry, I know I'm the oldest one in here.
No,
but
I mean that is a good one.
I mean,
no, I knew that. But
so here's a question then.
But is that a love song?
So we have
To the Butt. It's a love song.
To the Butt.
To
yes.
the bum.
Yes. I mean, I do like big butts. I can't lie. I cannot lie. So when we see things like, and you know what, the Sir Mix-a-Lot, it actually works perfectly with where I was going with this. Whether it's something like that or it's something along the lines of what we were talking about with bands doing what they do backstage, does it perpetuate that as being perfectly fine within the music industry to act that way? And does it have a different set of standards then?
I think now, and this kind of goes with why we are having this conversation, I think now more than ever with social media platforms, it's more acceptable to out people as being complete creeps. Mm-hmm. If you just want to cite the whole Runaways situation.
Yep.
That's fair.
She's coming out about it now. And it happened
35 years ago.
Well,
years ago.
This is part of the whole situation now with outing people and not saying anything. So guys in bands, CEOs of publicity companies, power. Right. The power that men have had since the industry like came into existence, and not feeling like your assault is worthy of disrupting their entire career. And being known as the girl who took down Heathcliff Baru, or whatever the fuck his last name is. Like, that's a lot of weight to carry, especially because gossip is such a big thing around women to begin with. Because, like, if you work really hard and get promoted really fast, clearly you must have done something sexual to get there. Instead of just being a hard worker.
And really
like, again, there's always some sort of weird sexual element that exists as long as you have a pair of tits.
That's what I thought about this whole thing with Heathcliff Baru. I want to say his name like as much as possible in this. God, what an asshole.
He sucks.
But I was thinking about the girls that came forward, and this only gained traction because of the Dirty Projectors guitarist. Yes. And this other girl, Roxy, her name is Roxy. She came forward after. She's not as well known, but she is a indie musician. And I thought to myself, how shitty that here's someone who is
That she
pushing,
doesn't count.
but she's pushing her music, and now this is what got her in the limelight. And it's no wonder why you're silent about it, because why do you want that to be the headline above your name? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You want your music to be the headline above your name. So-and-so, Roxy so-and-so played a great show. No. And now it's, oh, this girl was assaulted.
Yeah.
That's what you're known for. That's why victims remain silent, because you don't want to be known for something awful that happens to you. You want to be known for something awesome.
Reputation is everything in this business.
Yeah.
Like,
Here's a wild situation. Okay. And this is pure speculation. I'm making this up as I go. It just popped into my head. Woman comes to you as a journalist because you have some sort of relation. You know, you guys have worked together or whatever, and says, hey, you know, I really want to blow this story up. You know, so-and-so did some really messed up stuff to me. You write that story. Does it carry enough weight, or do people just say, oh, she's just like rallying some troops?
well, I think of the music editor at Brooklyn Mag who told Roxy's story and broke some other parts of this. It's hard to not be labeled as a feminazi who's just spouting misandry left and right and looking for a way to take a man down, which is all the more reason right now why we need to have, it sounds gross to say out loud, but like male allies that can be like, no, actually
absolutely.
this is fucked up and I'm going to use my platform and my privilege to like validate this, because for some reason it's not good enough. I mean, like when the story broke about Amber coming forward and I told my friend about it, who also works in the industry, my friend briefly wanted to read up on it because like just knowing that an accusation existed wasn't good enough for her. Like she needed to read the story and feel validated about what was going on. And I was like, it's sexual assault.
Yeah.
Like if she's coming forward and saying this thing happened, like you don't have to read the blog post for me to tell you exactly what she said. Anytime that an assault happens, it's what was she wearing? What, you know, how much did she have to drink?
But with what you were getting at, it sounds like where you said, you know, that had you written the piece, you know, you would just come off as a feminazi.
Oh yeah, or like just a girl being like, "Ew, a boy was mean to me."
Yeah,
like
grab my butt.
But isn't that the same? And I'm trying to just make this point here. Remove me from the situation we're in right now, and I would think the perception will be that you two are just angry feminazis.
oh yeah.
100%.
Taking a forum to just bitch about.
I mean, we are drinking wine and talking shit about men in the industry, so like, without you,
and
it's
there
not
is a small
valid.
foofy dog.
Oh
There's
yeah,
a dog running around.
and we were talking about weddings before this.
Yeah,
There's
started,
M&Ms
so-
on the table.
Like,
And there's
so
M&M, yeah,
full circle.
But no, I'm being serious here though. That literally me sitting here, who has the least amount of understanding about this of anybody in this room except for the dog, gives it makes it different.
oh yeah,
And that is so stupid and so wrong.
I actually like what you say about male allies, and like I think that this is, I mean, I think it's a across the board situation in which like I think everyone needs allies that are not in their group of people, because how else are you going to inflict change on the? You're not
Absolutely.
going to. You're just going to be this, you know, going in a circle over and over and over. But the thing I find really interesting about the whole, and I was like just mulling over this on the train, the whole Heathcliff thing is that when people came forward and when they said something to the people he worked with or to friends that were mutual friends of his, their answers were, well, that happens with him. That's the way he is. That just happens. So my point is, like, I think if you want to inflict change on this entire situation, you have to be that one friend of your bro friend who is like, stop grabbing women's butts. You know what I mean?
gross.
You have to be that person who's like, hey, you've had too much to drink and you're creeping everyone out around you. You have to be that, like, if you're a friend.
you have to be the turd in a punch bowl for
Yeah.
indefinitely.
Your friend's a creep.
Caitlin posted another story where a girl came forward about her assault. I can't remember how long ago it was, but it was a girl who just, on top of everything else, is a lesbian. And
Yeah. Oh, I saw this one in the
God,
bathroom.
Cliff
was
like
terrible.
pinned her down,
Yeah, it was awful.
jerked off
bathroom.
in front of her.
Yeah.
And the response was, well, you're hot. Do you blame him? Like that
Yeah.
is enough of a qualification to be assaulted.
Yeah.
Again, the whole like relief of having someone
Yeah.
not think you're hot is like not a thing that you should be worried about.
And it's not an acceptable thing in almost every other profession.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, like
Right.
if in my job, if in any of the jobs that I've had, I pulled anything like this,
Yeah.
I'd be fired in a second.
Oh, yeah.
So why have we continued to allow it to be acceptable in the world of music?
Because the wrong people have been in power for a very long time.
Old white men.
Yeah.
With an industry
cool.
that's been around in its formal sense, hi dog, you know, for more than half a century, and in an industry where we have had so many amazing female performers, you know, from Billie Holiday to Janis to Madonna, whomever you please. I think Tina Fey said it in reference to comedy once. Wouldn't it be nice if we finally got to a point where we didn't have to count women, as in she's the first, you know, the third woman to do this, and why there still is such a massive imbalance? Because I think with that imbalance is why all of this shit is still so heavily perpetuated, because, you know, there's no one saying no.
I know so many single women in music that are just like, I'm exhausted and I really would like to think about having babies, but, you know, like, I'm 32 and I haven't met anyone because I don't have any time, because I'm trying to like move my career forward, and it's so hard because, you know, like, I'm supposed to spend more time with so and so, but like, I learned last year from the company Christmas party that if he has a few drinks in him, he gets handsy, and I don't want to get near that. That's a real thing that like I hear often. Like the last company Christmas party that I went to, it was like, please be advised that after 3 drinks you don't want to be near so and so because he just doesn't know how to keep his hands to himself.
So my whole argument is like, why is so and so at the party? You know what I mean? Get so and so out of the party.
He needs to be there.
So again, and that brings us back to the question.
Right.
Why are people still allowed to get away with things like that? Or, you know, this PR guy who is, you know, let's be honest, sexually assaulting any woman he could get drunk around, to, you know, the almost cliche, you know, you're at a rock show and it's a female lead singer and everybody's yelling, "Show us your tits." You know, which I cannot tell you how many times I've been to that show, and I just kind of look at the guy, I'm like, what? Yeah, what are we, 10? As someone who worked in education for a very, very long time, which is ironic on many levels, you know, I know a lot of it is because society still raises guys to be douchebags for the most part.
Yeah, totally.
You know, and you can look at like any beer or liquor ad, in case you forgot, because it basically says, drink this and you're going to be awesome.
Budweiser.
Or Axe body spray.
Sure, or Axe body spray, you know, the scent of douchebaggery. And, you know, that you know, that's where I see the core, is that we are not teaching the youths to, you know, like, treat anyone with respect. But in an era where we have something like social media, where everybody is connected, what steps can we start to take so that situations like this, you know, don't occur again? Because unfortunately, and I hate to say this is going to lose steam really fast.
It already has.
You know, it's going to
not
fall out.
trending
Yeah,
anymore.
it's going to fall out of the headlines, which blows, because I guarantee you, even since this all came to light, it's absolutely happening left and right in different ways across the industry.
Yeah. I think, I mean, just to keep talking specifically about the Heathcliff Baru issue, I think this first step that can be taken was taken, and I think it's naming him by name. Mm-hmm. I really think it's important because he got fired. His company dissolved. Mm-hmm. He now is claiming he's going to go to, and this is going to tie into what we want to talk about, substance abuse, you know, counseling. And his name, at least among the most important people that he was around, is now pretty tarnished, hopefully.
Right, in the era of social media, if he
world.
gets a job somewhere in the industry, people will find it.
People will call him out. But I will say, like, that's a good punishment, but it's really, like, kind of nothing compared to the other girl that came forward was Beth Martinez from Danger Village, who I've corresponded with before. She's, like, really nice. Who she came forward and said he like put his hand down her shirt numerous times, and she was like, stop. So the comparison of like him, yeah, I mean, is his professional life over? Yeah. But now you have a girl who probably won't want to get in a car for a while with a guy alone. You know what I mean? So like the professional versus the personal tarnishing is you can't compare. So
Yeah, he loses his job. She loses part of herself.
exactly.
Yeah,
and then just now in relationships, she, I mean, I'm not speaking for her at all. I'm just speaking from personal experience.
royal
Yeah. It's just not, it's something that you can't even like wrap your brain around. And so like people coming in defense of him, or him being like his half-assed apology of like, I was drunk. No, and he called it alleged, allegedly this, and like half-ass apologizing for this and this. And it's just like, cool. Well, you've ruined a lot of ladies' lives, and future relationships. So have a great time in rehab, you complete asshole.
Yeah.
Which it's funny that we've gone back to rehab being the we'll make it all better.
Yeah.
It's
the Band-Aid.
It's such a it's such a cop out. As someone speaking personally, who had a drug problem, I've been, in case anyone's wondering,
I'm learning
been
so
clean,
much about
been
you.
clean almost 20 years now. Because remember, I'm really old.
Yay.
Remember that, right? And it's not something I talk about very often because
Sure.
it's irrelevant to my life. Like I haven't done drugs since the 90s. Literally, no matter how messed up I was never like, man, I am going to go and grab that woman because she's hot and I am man. I am all that is man.
That's because you're a good person.
Oh, let's not go that far. No need
That's
to
true.
lie.
You're good. No,
that's true.
Hate to.
Yeah.
But that's why I say that. This I'm going to rehab. It was the drugs thing. I don't buy it.
No, it's offensive to good people who have alcohol problems.
Exactly.
It's very offensive. Like I'm a blast when I'm drunk. I have never grabbed a guy's crotch and been like, I was drunk. I would never. There are people who are so much fun drunk, and
Right.
never am I around them being like, I'm scared you're gonna assault me.
Yeah.
It's offensive on so many levels to people who actually, have a problem and are good people to the core, but can't get a grasp
Shake
on
that
this thing.
demon, yeah.
You are a predator. That is a different problem.
Exactly, and it was the same thing when he started saying, I have depression, I have these mental illnesses.
Shut
Like,
up.
who doesn't have some form of depression?
You live in New York. You got
Yeah.
a lot of problems.
I have right. You choose to live here. That
Yeah.
already means you're messed up.
I'm
You're
also
already
fairly
depressed.
certain that some of the stories that I've heard, he wasn't drunk. So it
Absolutely.
has nothing to do
No.
with drugs and alcohol. It has everything to do with being a broken fucking person.
Exactly.
You're a predator. It's a totally
when
different
he
issue.
says, I have these mental illnesses, it's like, again, like with people who are great drunks, he is taking so much away from people who have legitimate
So offensive.
mental illnesses and mental damage.
Yeah.
And most people I know, myself included, who have clinical issues, we don't ever use that as a crutch for anything other than, I'm sorry, I wanted to sit in my room for the last 6 days and not talk to anybody.
Totally.
Well,
totally.
but again, to go back to this, from a communal standpoint, the music business is one of the only places where all the broken people in the world go to feel like they belong.
That's why we're sitting at this table right now.
You know what I mean? Like,
With our
this is where
M&Ms.
you go. It's where
Because you
go,
can express yourself.
You go express yourself. You go to be healed by a piece of music. It is where all of the broken people go to feel like they belong somewhere.
So you get shitty people at shows, guys who are being a little handsy, who are being whatever the reason. But
Handsy. I love that.
but
phrase.
it's 1940. We can use that word. But the industry, because people act that way in the industry, the fans who are coming to the shows, it's in some ways just as acceptable.
That notorious phrase that everybody knows, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, we haven't been like, actually, it's consensual sex, maybe just weed and rock and roll. We haven't ever stopped that persona from happening. So guys are starting bands because they want to get laid. Girls are showing up because they think that part of what they're supposed to be doing is to show up and be groupies or whatever.
Over rock stars.
And, because it's like this free party, you can get away with whatever you want.
So how do people who maybe aren't even involved in the industry, let's say, how can they begin to affect change? We go back to this is we know what the problem is. We have unpacked this problem brilliantly here because we are all just
We basically solved the problem.
basically.
Yeah.
So
You're welcome.
but
You're
how
welcome,
can
everyone.
Tommy in Nebraska, who just loves music and cares about the industry, or Judy who lives down the street here in New York City, how can they begin to affect change?
You should be looking after the people that you are bringing yourself and go, okay, so maybe don't touch people like that. We've gotten really, really selfish as a community.
Yeah.
That's the word right there. Community. Because that, to me, is where it all fell apart.
Oh, yeah.
Because growing up in punk rock, if somebody messed with anyone, guy or girl, at our shows, you're going to get your ass kicked.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, we protect our own, whether you're on stage, whether you're in the crowd. But I feel like because of that, because people have become so self-centered, and so the culture of me, I think, was the big headline some magazine ran a while ago, and they're kind of right, that we've forgotten to kind of look out for each other and say, hey, wait a second, because you don't do that in my community, and I take a lot of serious
you also
ownership.
Don't crush people. We don't have to go like the sexual route. You don't crush people in the front.
So then, how in an era of social media, when we have the ability to form communities quicker and larger than ever before, have we lost the sense of community in music, which, as we have just proven over the last bit of time here, is one of the key reasons why this abuse, and let's call it what it is going to such extents and all of that? Because if it happened in your community, you're going to stop it.
I think you have to keep naming it by name, and you have to keep calling it what it is. Like, you just said something that I think is super key. I think that, and this is just where we live, and this is our society, that people think there's levels of abuse.
Yeah.
Like your friend getting groped up her skirt. Like, it's sad that a lot of people would be like, well, it's not a big deal, you know, or like being
That's still assault.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And what I'm saying is, like, people think there's levels of abuse, levels of assault. And I mean, like, of course, like, it's not someone sneaking into your friend's home and brutally raping her. Of course, that is like horrific. But to make it less than a feeling of someone doing something to you that you did not allow, violating you, you know, to make it less than that is dehumanizing. I think that it helps very much to have male allies, very much. Like I said before, like, you got to have people around you being, and what you're saying with, like, you know, protecting you, you have to have it metaphorically too. You have to have the men in your life be like, this isn't right. This isn't right what's happening. You should feel safe. You should feel comfortable in an environment that you're purchasing a ticket for.
Yeah.
You know?
Because you go to a show and something like that happens, you're never coming back.
No, I rarely go to live shows.
And as music fans, our community gets smaller then.
Yeah.
Because someone feels alienated.
Yeah.
Or unsafe.
Yeah.
In an environment. And that to me is to put things in horrible perspective, because I'm going to go with the sentence I wanted. That to me is the worst of all, is that this person has lost a place where they wanted to be, and we've lost that person as part of the music community. My thanks again to Emily Danger and Stephanie Kibbe, who you can follow on Twitter at Emily Danger Band and Kibbe, that's Kibbe, respectively. I really appreciate that they were so open and frank in the discussion, and we will definitely have them back to speak further. Now, while I decided to forego a new album review at the top, I will not leave you without your Earfuel homework assignment. Don't worry. For those of you who are new to the podcast, each episode I give one album that you should listen to this week, uninterrupted and without any distraction whatsoever. It stems from the idea that these days, for so many people, music has become a background task, because you're driving, you're at the gym, you're at work, whatever, and this, the Earfuel homework assignment, is about consciously and purposefully listening to music just for the sake of listening to music. So in the spirit of today's conversation, this time around, your Earfuel assignment is Fiona Apple's debut album, simply called Tidal. Now, this record overflows with mood, and yet, no matter how many times you spin it, they hit just as hard. It's the way that the sounds kind of swell and crash around you that is so breathtaking. And she's simultaneously able to bring this intensity that, honestly, it was rarely heard at the time. It really was. From the deep bass on the album's opening track to delicate songs like Slow Like Honey, it's one of those records that just surrounds you and it refuses to let you go. There are elements of jazz and blues and soul. There's just so much going on with each song that you can get just as much out of the vocals as you can from the music, and that sort of exceptional achievement is really rarely found. Those vocals, though, I mean, they're nothing short of extraordinary. The level of emotion and pain she puts into every sound is just It is so damn good. That record, it never gets old to me. Along with that, Fiona isn't exactly one to mince words, and the power of her lyrics, it's unsettling in the best way possible. Whether she's spinning clever euphemisms or revealing her personal life to an almost uncomfortable level, it's true lyrical poetry from beginning to end. It's also an album that's unique because each song is so fantastic, you're going to find yourself falling in love with different tracks at different times in your life. At times, you'll find you need to get lost in Sullen Girl. Other eras of your life will call for Pale September. This is just one of those albums that's rarely far from me, and I really can't remember a time in my life that I didn't have it. I truly love this record, so go grab it, get lost in the sounds, and thank me later. So that's what I've got for this episode. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at @GetEarfuel and @TheDailyGuru, and we are in the iTunes store under Earfuel and SoundCloud.com/GetEarfuel. And hey, if you dug the podcast, go tell a friend or three. That is your weekly Earfuel. Share and enjoy.